This episode of the Fight Within podcast is presented to you by Meguiar's. For over 115 years, Meguiar's has been carefully creating and producing advanced formulas with cutting-edge chemistry to deliver a show car perfect appearance. Whether you're showing on the fairway, finalizing your car for auction, or simply getting your beloved car ready for a weekend drive, Meguiar's is ready to help with their premium car care products to make every automotive surface look its absolute best. Meguiar's, reflect your passion. Make sure to visit them at meguiars.com.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight Within podcast. Today's guest is a past guest, Bryant, the Beast Shell. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and so we're talking a little bit off air about you just recently fought for Lights Out here in California, and the fight didn't go as planned. So talk to us a little bit about that, and then follow up with just kind of how you dealt with it, because I think there's a lot of being an athlete in any field, and even business owner, there's defeats and there's losses and there's things you have to overcome, and so I think we all deal with it a little bit different. So talk to us a little bit about the fight and the outcome, and we'll just dive right in.
Got you. Like you said, I fought for Lights Out XF, Sean Merriman's promotion.
Yeah.
Came out there, didn't exactly have like a honed in game plan. You know, the idea was, most of the time we trade a little bit. They take me down, get the submission, and that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
I took the L. It was rough. I took a few leg kicks that kind of, in a way, disabled me. They were pretty rough. It was just all in the same spot, just consecutively. We traded a few, and then even had to switch stances at a certain point. I wouldn't say it was due to pain, but just felt more comfortable, so I switched up. We traded. He threw a few more kicks. I got backed up against the fence, took me down, in the scramble, got my back, rear naked choke, boom, I'm out of there,
But how do you answer the question? Because I heard it before too. It's like, oh well, he took you down and he did this to you and he did that to you, and don't you train for that? Like, yes, obviously we train for that.
Right.
But it's and the way I always answered it was, it's either unpredictable or it's the way they set it up. Like the way they set it up, I didn't see that coming, or I'm thinking about something else. I think it's really, really, I don't want to say funny, but it is to me when the general public is always like, well, don't you train for that? Like,
right.
Yeah, we train for all of it. We train for everything. Right. And it's just like, how did you deal with that loss? Because there's always questions. You doubt yourself. You question whether you're at the right gym, whether you had the right training camp. You're like, oh, I could have trained a little bit harder that day. I could have done the extra rep. How did you deal with it specifically? Because obviously you don't go into the fight saying like, oh, I can't wait to lose. I did one time. I remember. I just wanted to get paid. I was like, oh, I can't wait to get my paycheck.
Get in, get out.
Yeah.
For me, yeah. Like I spoke to you earlier about, I was in a real dark place right after. Like you said, all the questions come about. Maybe I did need just one more rep. Maybe we need to train at this a lot more. Maybe I needed a better game plan. Maybe I should have went to option B, C, and D. But I take full accountability for it. I definitely know, my weak side, or something that I need to work on is the ground game. Yeah. And I'm so stubborn. I can't help it. I think we talked about it last time. I love to trade. It's just it's fun for me, but that's the problem. If you don't put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, once you're there, you're in trouble. And that's exactly what happened. I didn't work enough ground. I didn't work enough jiu-jitsu. I didn't work enough wrestling. But yeah, I definitely question everything. Like maybe I pushed too hard. Maybe I didn't push enough. And you just get in your head about it.
Yeah.
But I do know the best medicine for me, at least, because we talked about it earlier, maybe some teams, they want you to take time off. Some people want you to get back in. Me, knowing myself personally, the more I stay away from the gym and out of the game, the more I'm just doing myself an injustice. Like, I put in all this work. I got to get my ass back in there. Yeah. And I got to get over this mental hump, this mental hurdle that's just kind of, I don't know, it's crippling, honestly. You take that loss and then you go through all those thoughts, maybe the shit's just not for me, and it sucks, because you sacrifice all that time with your family and this and that. But at a certain point, you got to be like, you know what, that just wasn't me. I didn't have the time or the opportunity to really showcase what I could really do. So I had to pull myself, the statement, by my bootstraps and get my ass back in there.
How much of it do you think is, and I always love this answer from athletes, like how much of it do you think is just fate? Like that was meant to happen. That was already, it's pre-written. It's supposed to happen. This is what the outcome's going to be. And how much of it do you think is under your control?
Well, I mean, before you even answer that, though, I'm not an athlete like you guys where I never competed anything like that. But in everything, someone always has their day, right? And I think for me, answering that question, like when I'm looking at something, like we went to the jiu-jitsu competition last weekend. I was supposed to compete, but I hurt my knee.
Yep.
And so for me, I'm like sitting there like trying to support my team, and I'm like, dude, this sucks. Like I don't even want to be here, but I have to like act like I want to be here because I want to support your team. But watching and seeing things, and there's people where you can beat that person, and then they end up winning the entire tournament, and it just happened to be that person's day. And I think that's something that you don't see while you're in it. But it's impossible to be like your day and your time every single time, right? So maybe like the switch perspective on taking a loss, or when people like get in that mindset is, dude, it wasn't my day. And I think the sooner someone can hold on to that and like learn it, you're only going to come back stronger, unless you're just going to quit, then you don't belong doing it anyways. Correct. But I think that mindset shift could be something that changes people's perspective and get them back to a better version of what they were. Right. But
why I had that, the reason I asked that was because I was listening to Brennan Schaub has it's his new show. It's called Food Truck Diaries. Okay. Or no, it's not. It's the Fight Companion, like Fight Companion Classic, where he brings in old like fighters and they go and they watch their old fights, right?
Oh, that's kind of
and
cool.
So and they talk about it, like what were you thinking at that time? What were you doing? And he just had Francis Ngannou on, but I was listening to Sean O'Malley's. Okay. And I only listened to a little part of it, but they were talking about his first fight in the Contender Series. And he was like, that was the crappiest fight camp he'd ever had. He had a concussion like 2 weeks before. He just wasn't in the right mindset. Doesn't remember what he was thinking. And it's funny that you say that, because the other guy should have totally won. The other guy was well prepared. He looked bigger. He looked stronger. He was faster. He was technically better. And like Ben said, it was just his day. Sean O'Malley won because it was just his day. He only had to be good that night for those 15 minutes. That's when he had to be good. So yeah, but it's just a funny perspective. That's why I was asking it. Like, how much of it is, or how much of it do you think, from your perspective, is fate? Like, hey, this is pre-written. This is gonna happen. Because I don't think anything happens on accident. I think everything happens for a reason. But now you get into the conversation of, like, you're in control of certain things. You have the ability to control certain narratives. But there is certain things that are just, like Ben said, maybe it was just his day. Maybe for him that day, everything clicked. Maybe he peaked at the right time. I mean, whatever it is, what are your thoughts behind it?
I believe in fate a lot. Also believe you could kind of control your own fate. I think I just didn't put the right work in, personally, and I think he did. Like you said, I think he did everything right, and maybe that is, him controlling, both of our fates, because he just came in with this banger of a game plan, and I think he even spoke on an interview, right afterwards. He said, he heard I had some power in my right hand, so the idea was take out his legs, just take him out, immobilize him, you know what I mean? Get him to the ground where he knew I took some L's before in the past, and that's exactly what he did. So I think in that sense, yeah, definitely controlled our, both of our fate.
Go ahead, you can go.
But then how much of it I always like to ask why. Like, why? I like to break things down. But then how much of it was, like, maybe you had an awesome training camp. Like, maybe you did do the right things. Maybe you did do enough, but he just had a better game plan. Or he was just able to execute his game plan better. Because maybe you had a great game plan, but he was just able to execute it sooner. Or the way he wanted to. It's like, I just think it's so unique when people, or especially like in the NFL or NBA or in fighting, like, oh, these are fixed. It's like, Sure, has there been corruption and stuff in the past? 100%. But how can it be fixed? It's just whoever, I guess, pulls the trigger first. Like, I don't know. It's just an interesting. I just think it's always interesting to talk to another athlete about it. Like, what do you think? What do you believe?
And if they're willing to be real about it too.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
You know, so many we've talked about this, but so many people are so fake, and it's like, dude, if you lost, you lost. If you won, you won. Who cares? Like, just be real about the situation. And something you said at the very beginning that I wanted to like point out, like, in controlling fates and him controlling and maybe you not putting in work, because dude, we see you put in friggin' work. You're working. Like,
Thank you.
It's not that you're not working.
Yeah.
You work harder than pretty much every athlete that I think I follow on Instagram. You and there's one other guy that I'm always like, dude, these guys are always working. I'm like, freaking A. So I don't know if it's necessarily that you didn't work hard enough. So I feel like you can get like that nasty thought out of your head.
Thank you.
But one thing you said at the very beginning, you're stubborn and you didn't work the ground.
Yes.
Homie that you fought maybe knew you didn't work the ground.
Huh.
And so maybe that fate component was you realizing, shoot, I need to work ground.
Right.
Because before, like you were saying, you like to trade, you like to throw your hands. But now maybe it's like, oh, this guy helped me really realize I need to get my ground game up. Because I'm good on my feet.
Yep.
So maybe it's one of those fate controlling moments where now you know what you need to do in the sense of you're already working hard. So maybe, I know it sounds so cheesy, but work smarter, not harder, you know?
Yep.
So
I get it. Yep.
It's one of those weird things though, because sometimes you need to hit, not necessarily saying this for you, but I'm using it as the analogy. Sometimes you need to hit like that rock bottom before you can pick yourself up and better yourself, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, and it happens everywhere in business, you know? Like, I've had to have some massive things happen to me over the course of 12 years before I really realized, oh, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to work on. This is what I need to change as a business owner. And the same goes for you. I think the difference, though, is being able to fully, like, understand that. I think a lot of people aren't willing to understand it, or they think they know better. So I kind of like that you said that at the very beginning, where you're like, I'm stubborn. I know I need to work this.
Well, they just don't want to. Because I've listened to interviews where, like Mike Tyson, or even recently John Jones, where they go on benders and they just party.
Yep.
And they don't really train, and they still win. I'm like,
yep.
I'm not that talented. Like, I can't do that.
Same.
You know, like they have been gifted an ability to like either knock people out or have great accuracy, have great speed, and it's like I can't do that. I'm not that guy. You know, like I have to work hard. I have to work smart. I have to watch film.
Yep.
Like I have to get my reps in and be repetitive with the same thing. And I just think it's interesting because it can set you back. Like you were saying, you're in a dark place, and it can definitely set you back because so much of your life is encompassed by like training camp and like just like we were talking about it before, like schedule and your diet and your training regimen. And you're waking up thinking about your opponent, eating thinking about your opponent, going to sleep thinking about your opponent, and you get almost obsessed. And when you don't get the result that you want, you automatically and naturally think you're not good enough. But I'm a big I don't want to say like example of it, but and it's okay to shift or pivot because I'm sure you can attest to this. Sometimes in business things don't go your way. You're going to have to make just a little pivot. It's like, okay, what else do I have to do? I think for you, it's very much like you're good on your feet. You work your ass off. Great. Well, there's other components to MMA.
100%.
There is grappling, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, whatever you want to call it. There's the whole grappling aspect of it. And for you to finally have that like light bulb moment and where it's like, oh, I need to train this. These are my weaknesses. I need to make these my strengths or I need to at least level up where I'm at in my ability with it. I think it's awesome. It's great that you notice that because a lot of people don't. A lot of people will just say, well, it was just his night. I'll get him next time.
Right.
Like if we like people the Nate Diaz fight, I think he was fighting Leon Edwards.
Okay.
And he almost knocked him out. Like he got his ass whooped for like 4.5 rounds.
Yeah, he did.
And like the fifth round, he almost knocked him out. And they're like, oh, if this would have been a street fight or if there was more rounds, but it's like, no, it's 5 5-minute rounds. That's the only time you have to impose your will or to like for your game plan to succeed.
Yep.
So you can't say that, oh, if you just had 30 more seconds, it doesn't matter. Once the clock stops, once the bell rings, it's over.
Yep.
You should have done that earlier. You know, and I think for you specifically to be able to recognize that and now make a change and make those enhancements, if you will, I think your next fight, because you're being real with yourself, I'm not saying you're going to win, but at least you're going to go in there with more confidence and more, you know, knowing that you have the ability to kind of dictate where the fight goes or do whatever you want, you know, without being stuck in a bad position. Or if you do get put in that bad position, you know, you'll be able to get out or do whatever. You know, it's a fight, so it's always a gamble. You never know what's going to happen. But how do you deal with it now? Like, what do you do? Because it hasn't been that long. You know, you just fought in December. Right. So it's not like it's been.
It's only been a full month.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I'm at the point now where I got to make adjustments. You know, when I mess up, and you spoke about hitting a wall, and that's kind of exactly what it was. You know, like you said, maybe not necessarily rock bottom, but it felt like it for sure. And now I got to make adjustments, and I know me. And sometimes I got to do things hard in my life. Well, actually, if you ask my family, you ask anybody who's known me long-term wise, I don't do anything the easy way. Even when it's handed to me an easy way, I got to do it the hard way.
Yeah.
So knowing that I got to work on those things, I'm going to obsess over it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna watch a ton of more film, not just on the stand-up side, but a lot on the ground side. And I'm going to work a lot on the stuff that I hate doing. I'm going to work on the takedowns. I'm going to work on the wrestling, takedown defense, you know, submission defense. Because like I said, it's not going to change. My DNA is not going to change. I'm never, like we said in the last show, I'm not going to be submission specialist.
Yeah.
But I need a few in my pocket if I want to go any further in this. You know, and I'm definitely going to need to defend them a lot better. For sure. You know. So I'm glad it happened to me. I mean, it's happened to me before where I got caught and I just like would not stop. I got to work more ground. But I got too comfortable on my feet, and now it's time to turn it around.
Yeah.
You know?
So there's something really cool too to have that perspective, knowing that you need to turn it around, because your opponent knew you were good with your hands. Like, that's respect, right? He was showing you the respect by taking it away from you. I think that's something that's also super cool to realize as your opponent. Like, oh shoot, this guy's got quick hands and he's got a heavy right. Like, I need to take that away from him.
Right.
And dude, the only thing I could see from it, and again, I'm not a fighter, but from like the outside looking in, I always like to put those perspectives in. But it's like, you work hard, so if you can take even just a sliver of like the hard work you've been putting into your ground game, dude, you're gonna be a totally different fighter.
That's what I'm hoping for.
And that's something that's so cool. Like, don't let it get to your head. But
you see, it's all
right. But that is something that's so sick. Is like, your opponent respected something that you have.
Yeah.
So now you got to earn the respect on something he didn't think you had.
Definitely.
And so the next person that's, you know, looking in, they're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna do the same thing. And then in your head, you're like, please do the same thing. I'm ready this time.
Yeah. So Bryant's next opponent, don't watch this episode.
Don't watch this.
Yeah.
Don't tune in.
We're gonna freaking sneak attack you.
Watch
you're
the
gonna
last
rear
one.
naked choke the next guy.
Dude, it's just dope. I like seeing. I just like the progression. That's actually one, because we talked about the last episode where I was like, I don't know my passions or whatever, but because we were talking about like purpose but I know that I love building things or being a part of something that is growing. Like, I love it when, like, I would love to go in and either like go flip a house or go into a business where it's like just crappy and bring in like organization. It's like he does business coaching, and it's like that is so interesting to me, because like, how can I implement things that one, I either have experience in, or two, like go out and essentially fix and organize and then watch it blossom and just like water that plant and letting it grow. Like, it is so cool to me. Like, it literally like excites me. And I'm like, that is so rad to like, be a part of something, or like talk about community, or talk about, you know, partnerships, because I've had conversations with like his dad and friends of his that are just like, partnerships are hard. And in any aspect, whether it's a relationship, a marriage, business partnerships, you have to, there's always a give and take. And one person's always going to give more, and one person's always going to take more. And I think without communication, it's bound to fail. And that's why I think as an athlete, you have to communicate with your coaches, and I would almost like sit down with each one of your coaches and have them assess, be like, hey, let me get your input on things. Like, this is where I see my career going. I have about this many years left, and I want to do it with you. What do you recommend? Or if you were me and you were guiding my career, like, where would you say I need to work on? Oh, you need to work on your ground game. Cool. Do you know jiu-jitsu coach? Are you cool if I go to this jiu-jitsu coach? Like, is there a conflict there? Like, whatever. And start really, like, sit back and assess everything and then just grow from there.
Right.
Because what's cool and unique about hitting rock bottom or failing is, like, the only way to go after that is up.
Yep.
Like, you can only get better from there. And so, again, realizing that those were your weaknesses is a very unique perspective, because a lot of athletes are stubborn, but they don't have that. They're stubborn to the point where they never want to learn.
Right.
Or, like, they never want to grow. Like, the way I've been doing it for years, like, the way I used to run my computer in 1980s, I'm going to keep doing the same thing. Like, you're never going to get better. There's not going to be any enhancements or advancements. So I think it's cool, man. It's awesome to not only have you back, but to have you back and have you be open about it, because it's not easy to talk about that. There's a lot of pride and a lot of ego that goes into it.
Yep.
And when you can, I think it sounds cheesy, but that's not your life, but your career. I think that's when your career starts changing, because you're willing to accept your weaknesses and the things that you know you're not working on. And so, like Ben said, to piggyback off what he said, if you take that same work ethic and just apply it to this area, it's like damn, like, watch out. You don't know what's going to happen, because now you're putting the same amount of effort, dedication, discipline into this aspect of the sport, and just adding to that formula, so it's dope.
Yeah.
It's also hard too, because it's like making sure you're surrounded by the right people. I think we were saying it was, I don't remember who we were talking about it with, but like Mike Tyson back in the day, he had a bunch of yes people, right? Like hype people, like let me just praise you. You're the best, champ. Yeah, champ, you got that. Whatever you want to do. And it's like, well, yeah, you are, but they also watched you just destroy everything you worked for without even like being there to say something. Like, if you don't surround yourself with the right people, as an athlete, as a business person, as an individual, you're only gonna, fall to the wayside just like them. But it's like maybe making sure, maybe you've already done this. I like that we're just kind of having like an open conversation. But like Manny said, maybe one of your coaches isn't the right coach if they're not willing to like be like, yo, you need to do this. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of hard too, right? Like as a professional athlete, like maybe a coach is like too nervous to say something, but I feel like if they are, that's the wrong coach.
Yeah.
Right? Like, have you had coaches that do that for you?
If I could be completely honest, my main coach, he called my ass out on it right away.
See, that's sick.
And I was, I'm not gonna lie, I took it personal. I was hurt by it, because we're men, so we're carried by pride a lot of times.
Yeah.
So you hear another grown man tell you something like, hey, maybe you shouldn't wear a shirt like that, or something simple like that. You take it personal. Like, oh, you don't know what you're saying. Oh, you're kind of hating on me and all that,
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you got to humble yourself, and you look at, like you said, your the nucleus of your family, or the people that really love you. They're going to call you out,
Yeah.
Like, hey, you need to work on this. Hey, you're messing up doing this and that. And you're going to feel a certain way, but it's all love. And my coach, he's not, he's not benefiting from it. He's not building a name. He's built his own name. He's not getting paid off of what I'm doing or that. So there's no real benefit for him. So that's some real deep love.
Yeah.
But, he told me right away, pull me aside, you know what, you screwed up right here. You should have done this. I don't know what you're doing. You didn't even fight this. You could have done this different and all that. And it hurt. You know what I mean? It hurt. You know what I mean? It was, I remember even my wife, she said it seemed like we were breaking up, or like we were in a spat, like a couple spat or something.
Yeah.
But it's like, you got to be called out on it. So I had to take it, I had to digest it, and I had to be like, he's looking out for me.
Yeah.
And I do need to fix these things. These are some things that I already knew, and the fact that he's able to call me out on this, it doesn't make sense. Maybe I should take it personal, and maybe I should fix these things, because, it's his name on the line too. We're a team. You know what I mean? So it's like, if I do bad, and I get it, he's hurt. It's like, I lost. He lost in a sense, So for him to pull me to the side and let me know on things that I need to work on, without me having to ask, without me having like a yes person, like you said, like, oh, you did great, you did good, you know what I mean? He was just better that day, you know. He let me know right away.
See,
Honed
that's
in,
huge.
focused, like, hey, you messed up here, and you need to fix this. If you want to go further, if you want to do this, you want to continue doing this, you got to get this shit right, you know?
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, definitely.
That's huge. That shows volumes to him, too. Because
Definitely.
it's, in today's culture especially, man, it's like everyone walks on eggshells 24/7, or they're yes people, or they don't have the balls anymore to just like say it how it is, you know, like.
Yep.
And so for him to be able to do that, that's rad. Yeah, it's cool because I've heard so many stories of athletes, and you know they just were always told, "Oh no, you're great."
Right.
Cool.
But even just talking about it, like people have lost the ability to have a healthy argument.
Yeah.
Like if you believe something and you stand on that, and this person believes something, but you guys are doing life together, or there's a coach athlete relationship or partnership, whatever it is, and you can't get in a just a healthy argument, not saying like you suck, the way you think blows, like not like that. I'm saying like, hey, this is my stance on it, change my mind.
Right.
Like, why would you do that? And you can't even do that now.
Yeah.
People, it's good that you took it personal, but it's how you respond to it. Like that means that you care. That means that your coach cares. It is very healthy. That's okay. You know, like sometimes, like especially in my marriage, like my wife knows my hot buttons. She'll know what to say or how to make fun of me. And she's like the sweetest lady.
Okay.
You know, she's awesome. But because we've been together for so long, she kind of knows what pisses me off and what
they do.
what doesn't. And so
Yes, they do.
it's like she knows that, and I get so upset with her, but I love her so much, and I'm like, and it's like the people that you care about the most, sometimes they're the ones that know how to piss you off the most.
Yeah, they do.
And so it's good though. It's healthy. Like it's okay for your coach to be like, you did this wrong. I'm calling you out. You know, you shouldn't have trained your stand up 3 times a day. Like you should have trained your stand up once. Dedicate, you know, whatever. Well, I'm just saying, just in general, it is very cool to hear that from the athlete's perspective, because a coach, that's their job.
Right.
A coach's job is to call you out.
Right.
It's to hold you accountable, to make sure that you're being responsible with your training. And so the fact that you took it that way is awesome. Now you get a chance to respond.
Right.
It's like, how am I going to respond? Like, how much do I want to grow?
Right.
You know, because I think it's hard it was for me to just stop fighting. You know, didn't have a gym, was in a contract dispute with Bellator, like, and then to not have the ability to go compete, it like sucked all the life out of me.
That's
like
right.
all the passion, all the everything. And so I had a hard time because I was a fighter. Like not saying that was my occupation. Like that's how I identified.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, that's Manny. I was like, bam, bam. I was like, nope, this is who I am at all times, because it's like I have to fully encompass this, and I have to be this all the time for me to be successful. And it just wasn't true. I didn't know what to do after I got
fighting.
done. Yeah. And so it's dope. All those traits are going to help you.
Hopefully.
Yes.
As long as you receive them. That's
Yeah.
the thing too. Is like, that's why I love talking and communicating to people. It's like we could all say all these things we need to do, right? Like, oh, I know I need to do X, Y, and Z. You know that. But out of the 3 of us, hopefully all of us do what we're going to say we're going to do.
Right.
But realistically, like, and statistically, maybe 1 out of the 3 of us will do it. So it's taking like what we learn and being able to actually do something with it. That's what literally, it's so lame and cheesy, but that's what takes the greats to legends.
Yeah, it is.
You know, they knew what they needed to do. Like I was reading something about like Tom Brady, like I forget when this was in his career, but they said his arm was weak. So all he did was train that arm to become the strongest part of him. And I was like, dude, that's friggin', you're already one of the best athletes, you know?
Yep.
And to be able to take that criticism and be like, all right, if my arm's weak, it's going to be the strongest throwing arm ever, you know?
That's right.
But that's what separates people from good to great. And I learn that every day in my business life, my personal life. It's like trying to take those little things, even if they're micro adjustments, but taking them to heart and actually like trying to utilize them as a fighter training. Like that's something that can be a game changer.
Yeah, I think it will be for me. I mean, it's hard though. It's hard, especially for me. I'm sure everybody, especially if you said men of pride, but me, I don't take advice well. I take, if it's not something that I agree with, like you said, people can't really argue with each other anymore or speak their opinion, or we don't allow people to have a different opinion. I'm definitely one of those people, you know, like you tell me, hey, you need to fix this or you should do this different. I'm like, oh, you're a hater. Oh, you're just being negative. You know what I mean? When it's like, that's not it. This is just their opinion. Maybe it differentiates from your opinion, but hey, maybe they're right. And if you kind of block it all out and just say, oh, you're just negative, you're hating on me, you probably just want me to fail in the long run, then you're not going to grow. You're just going to stay in that small little box. You're never going to be better. You think nothing's broken, but guess what? You're broken, and people are trying to help you. You got to be open to allow that help.
Well, you got to accept it, for sure. I think as men especially, it's really hard to talk about emotions or talk about feelings. Like we were talking the other day in the lobby, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I've heard my dad ever to my face tell me that he loves me. Yeah. There's nothing against him. It's just the way he grew up. Like they just grew up different. And it's like, I'm the complete opposite. Like I tell my kids every day, like I love them. Like I look them in the eyes and I hold them, and because they're like my pride and joy. Like I get so happy when I come home, when like my girls are running up to me and they're excited, and even my son who's like 16 and this cool teenager is like, oh, good night, Dad, love you. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, you do. No.
Right. That's right. You better love me. Right?
But it's exciting, you know, and I think there's a lot of growth, and I think you continue to learn. Like we were just talking about like setting up the cameras and like the lighting, and I get a little obsessive. I'm like, no, I have to watch this video and watch that video, and then come to find out it's like has to do with how dark your room is and it's specific lighting for this. And I'm like, but I just want to figure it out. Like however long it takes me, I'm gonna figure it out. Right. And the hardest part for me is like asking for help. Like I don't like asking for help. Same. Yeah. You know, unless I'm willing to work for it, or unless I'm going to earn it, then it's like, okay, yeah, I can ask for help then. You know, and maybe that's not the right way to think about things, but you know, I've been really, really fortunate throughout my athletic career in my life that I've had really awesome coaches and like really like an awesome community of people that have either held me accountable or have like helped push me along the way. You know, and I think it's really cool to see. Like I had obviously Mark Munoz when I was fighting, and it was like that to me was like the man, because he talks about his faith all the time, and like cool. Not just talks about it but like lives it out. There's a lot of guys you see that know when to turn it on when the camera's on them, and then in their personal life they're completely different. Like he is the same dude all the time, and like I had that, and then after starting a business I'm like, man, I really need. Like, I've known Ben for a long time, but I've never really done life with him until recently. And, like, I was telling my wife the other day, I was like, I think Ben, like, I have a man crush on Ben.
That's right.
Like, this is dope. Like, because, like, it's just cool to surround yourself with those type of people that, like, aren't, like, I wouldn't say scared of you, but are like, I don't care what you've done. Like, this is a different field. Like, you did fighting. You were an athlete. You are now in business. Like, go out and go do things. And for him to, like even this morning, without going into detail, he's like, yeah, I got this buddy that is really good at one of the services that you offer. Maybe you guys can work together. And it's like, man, that to me goes a long way. Or, like, even little things. Like, I coach at a local high school. I coach football there. And then when the coach is just like, man, you guys did a good job, like, putting that game plan together, or like, putting this practice together, or, like, I put an episode up the other day, and Ben's like, man, good job putting that up. I'm like, that for some reason, maybe because I have daddy issues, that to me is, like, it's so cool. I'm like, yes. Like, I have to learn how to be more encouraging, you know? And I'm like, yeah, that's dope. Like, that made me feel good. Right. So, like, the next episode, I'm going to have it on time, and, like, it's going to be legit.
That's right.
You know, because it's not, I don't know if he does it on purpose. Maybe they taught him that in his coaching thing because he's certified. Like, this is how you get people to do things. Just be super nice to him.
Just hypnotizing you?
He's hypnotizing me. But it works. I'm like, oh, that's so dope.
That's
right.
Know,
just a simple text or, like, a simple word of encouragement. When maybe you think, like, you might be having a crappy day. You might be stressing out, and it's just like the fact that someone's just like, oh, bro, like, good job putting that up. I'm like, yeah, that was a good job. Yep. Cool. Like, thanks, man. Like, yeah.
Well, dude, I see him all the time, like on his stories, and I always comment. And it's not to like boost you up, but it's like, dude, you're genuinely putting work in.
Yeah.
And like, so I'll even just like like you said, as simple as it took a long time for me to acknowledge this. So it's not I've not always been good at what you're describing. It took, and like speaking to both of you, it took a long time for me to get there because I was like you. I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want constructive criticism. I didn't want X, Y, and Z. And I have no daddy issue. You've met my dad. I have like the best dad on the planet.
Nice.
And so it's never been a thing of validation. It's different for every person, right? Yeah. For me, I think it was just I was a Marine and I'm a man. I don't need nobody.
Right.
And the second I realized that is so flawed thinking and actually like believed it was the second I started like excelling in everything I was doing. You know, when the second I realized I'm not the best at roasting coffee in my company. Let's figure out who is. And let's support them and help them and encourage them and let them do it. You know, and it's the same thing like with you and with you and where you guys are at, like with the like asking for help and stuff like that is it was hard. But now, dude, I have no problem. And Manny knows this. I ask Manny for help all the time. And I have no problems doing it. And it's like, it could be something as simple as like, hey, Manny, there's a maintenance guy that's going to be there. Are you going to be around? I'm not like telling him to go do it. I'm like, but if he was around, like, can you help me and do that? And same with you, you know, if like there's people in your life that are like, hey, like, you know, they'll help you. You got to just set your pride aside and just be like, yo, please help me.
Right.
And I know it's lame and cheesy and feel good and emotional and we're men, but dude, like I said, the second I started asking and seeking help and understanding that I'm not always right was this like I cannot like make this up. It's the second my life started changing in all areas. And that was year like 8 or 9 in my business. It wasn't overnight. So that's what I'm saying. Like it took me a long time and I'm on year 12. So just to like put that in perspective a little bit. So like when I comment on like your Instagrams and stuff like that, it's not to be like your yes man. Some of it is, you know, but other parts is we got to know you and it's cool. Like I've talked to Manny about you just like over the course since we first met you. And it's like, dude, I think I've even said, dude, Bryant is always freaking like training and working. And I'm like, dude, like that stuff is rad. And that stuff that I think is stuff that other people should say like, dude, good job. Or, you know, like I'll mess around with you and be like, oh, when are you training with me? You know, right. Stuff like that. It's the same thing though. It's just understanding that, and it has nothing to do with my coaching. I mean, some of it is, you know, because I think in order to be the best version of what I want to do, I need to see the good in what other people are doing. Yeah. Like, dude, I wish I could work as hard as you and work out as much as you, and it's not that I can't. I just don't have the drive that you do. And that's just me being real. You know, like I say I want to. I say I want to do these things, but then when it comes time to it, I'm not willing to do the sacrifice for that component. Yeah. You know, you are, and that's freaking dope. And that's something that shouldn't be taken lightly. And it's not to be like oh my gosh, you're the best, but it's to show like give credit where credit is due.
I appreciate that.
And I mean, if it's anything that I've learned, it's that has nothing to do with me being less of a man than you two. And if you want to find out, let's go.
Nope.
I'm just kidding.
Not me. I don't.
But no, man, it's this episode's awesome because we're getting a chance to just kind of like talk, and we like at least I feel like I know you now more than the first time. You know, like the first time you're some random guy. Now it's like you're a homie. Like I want to see you freaking win, and we talk about this all the time. Like we want wins for your circle. I don't care if it's me, you. Them. Like I want people in my circle to win. Yep. Like I don't care if it's me or not. Like that's dope if you're winning, if you're winning. If you're losing, like that sucks, but how can I figure out how to help you? Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at, and what makes me excited about relationships like this and the podcast and the platform. And to me that's what life is about. It's not about what we're doing in the short little term, you know. Life is a longer, it's a marathon. It's not the sprint. Yep. Like the sprint is cool, but we're only sprinting for so long. So how can we all benefit each other to help us finish that marathon? Yep.
It's like, what do they say? Like success breeds success, or attracts success, or whatever. You know, because I was listening to Justin Wren on a podcast, and he has, he was in the Ultimate Fighter, the heavyweight division, now in Bellator, and but he was talking. He helps the pygmy people in the Congo.
Oh man, I think I know you're talking about blonde dude with the
blonde
hair
hair
and the
dude.
beard.
Yeah. And so he has a foundation called the Fight for the Forgotten.
I did see
and
that. Okay.
They don't sponsor us or anything.
That's
but
pretty sick, though.
Yeah, so he helps the pygmy people in the Congo. And they have a proverb, and I've heard it before, but it's something along the lines like, if you want to go far, like, go alone. But if you want to go, what is it? Like,
if you want to go fast, go alone.
Yeah, if you want to go fast,
far,
yeah,
go together.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what it is.
You
so
would know that.
So like,
You would know that.
It's deep.
So like you can do a lot of things on your own. But if you want to go, and that's why it's awesome, because then you build community or your circle, like Ben was saying, and it's like you want to see that person succeed. And a lot of times I would find myself, especially in like 2015, 2016, when like the gym closed, all the guys that we trained with, we had a lot of really big name guys that were either on their way up or were big names at the time. And I would find myself cheering for them, even though I hadn't trained with them in like months. And once I was talking to one of my coaches one day, and I go, "Why do you think that is? Like, I don't want to fanboy over him, but he's like, because you were there and you helped them train, you are a small part of not just their success, but like you want to watch them succeed because you gave them a small part of yourself as well."
Yeah. Man,
and so that's why it's really cool. Like when you fight someone, at least for me, there's always a mutual respect. Like I don't remember, maybe one time the guy that broke my knee, but other than that, like every guy was super cool. Whether I knocked them out or they beat me, like there's always a respect. There's a level of intimacy and a level of respect that, because you guys shared a moment.
Yeah.
Like you guys both created this moment together, and whether it's on film or not, like you guys shared. There's a special bond that you share with that person, and I think I've probably had at least a beer with like every dude. Like right after the fight, we go fight, we go have a drink. That's why when you were saying like, oh yeah, the dude knew I had power in my right hand, I remember it's so funny because mentally you psych yourself out. I fought Blagoy Ivanov, who's now in the UFC, and in my head I was like, this dude beat Fedor and Sambo, like he beat Alexander, his brother. Like this dude is a beast. I did not throw a punch. I froze because every tape that I saw of him, he would touch gloves and then right away plant his feet and throw punches. Jeez. And he was like 8-0 or 9-0 when I fought him. So I was like, oh, this dude, like we're gonna touch gloves. I'm gonna bite down on my mouthpiece. I'm gonna plant my feet, tuck my chin. We're gonna go at it.
Right.
And he didn't. So when he touched gloves, he literally retreated. And people think the cage is small. It's not small. There is smaller sizes, but it's a big cage.
Yeah, it is.
And so I was like, oh, like I don't know what to do. So I froze, and then I ended up getting choked out, but like nothing happened. So I talked to him after, and we were having a beer. He goes, "Let me buy you a beer." I said, "Oh, of course." And he's Bulgarian, so it was like broken English. So he had his manager with him, and he goes, "Yeah, we didn't want to stand with you because we knew that you could knock us out with your right hand." So like that validated to me, like made me feel a little bit better, but I was like, I did nothing. Because I felt like I remember being pissed and punching the cage and like walking to like two of the posts and just hitting them. And I felt like I didn't get in a fight. Like at least like beat me up so I feel like, oh, I've been in the fight.
Yep.
And it's funny that you say that. And now it's like the reverse. Now later on in life, it's like having people like Ben, having guys like my brother-in-law, or people being encouraging, is like, wow, like that validation is so needed in dudes. And I'm not saying be soft, I'm not saying that, but I think as men we need to be able to communicate better. Because like if you do anything to my kids, like I'll whoop your ass.
That's right.
Or like I'll kill you if I feel threatened. Like Papa Bear's coming out.
Yep.
But I can't be that person 24/7. Like that's who I am for my kids. That's who I am for my wife. Like I'm their protector. I can't be that person all the time. And so I don't know, man. We went on this crazy rant about I feel like we're going
being open with our emotions.
Yeah,
right.
Like let's all kumbaya right now.
That's it. Why not?
Dude, let's get back to your fighting. So you're gonna train, work on stuff. Do you have any plans or goals for when you would like to come back? Kind of talk us through that.
Man, I would have loved to came back March. That was the target for me. Well, I just got to be humble. Got to be humble in defeat, humble in victory. You know, I got to work on some stuff. So I'll probably say summer would be nice. Maybe June or something would be nice. You know,
Okay.
I'm gonna work my ass off in the gym. You know, like you said, if I could put that same focus, that same drive into my groundwork, like I said, just become just super obsessive over it.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get better there. Everything that I've worked at, I've gotten better at. You know,
So just put the time there.
that's it. I got to put the time in there, smarter, not harder. You know, and I'm excited. You know, because you know you don't learn from a win. You win, you think you got it all figured out. I don't need to work on anything. I got the formula. You know, I could do this. You take that loss, you're like, man, I got a lot to work on, and I'm super open to that, and it feels good because you're in that place where you can grow. You haven't peaked. You know, you feel like it. You feel like you're elite. You know, there's these other guys who are way better than you know, but you feel like you peaked for your version of it. And I'm glad to know that I'm not even close to the best I'm going to be. You know.
That's so cool. Well, dude, I'm excited to keep watching you and grow.
Thank you.
Watching you grow, and just to keep seeing like what you're doing, dude. I lived through your hustle life.
That's right.
We definitely went on a way different avenue of things.
Whatever.
But
that was awesome though.
It's also just part of life, and especially as an athlete's journey.
Yeah, it is.
I love hearing you say that you know what you need to do. So hopefully now you got at least 2 more people in your corner that can be like, yo, I haven't seen you doing that. Like, why aren't you doing that?
Yeah.
You know, like almost to piss you off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
keep me accountable.
Like I literally will do that to Manny all the time. I'm like, yo, dude, so what's up with the website?
That's what when you're saying that, I was like, so I gotta get the website done.
But it's out of love. It's like it's to remind, you know.
Yeah.
But so if I don't see you freaking in there getting smashed and submitted all the time, I'll be like, yo, Bryant, what's going on with that?
What have you been doing? Right.
Exactly. Anything else you would like to share or anything like that?
Hi to Wit, Tate, Maximus, Bryant Jr. Love you guys. You know, shouts to Kings MMAs too, for still keeping me under their banner. You know what I mean, and working with me, helping me get better. Thanks to you guys, man. It's a wonderful show, man. You know, I'm gonna get lost in this again.
I like it, and we'll make sure we tag all your info in there.
Yeah,
people need to follow the journey. Like I said, it's cool just because from the first episode that we met you on to now, like I feel like I've been a little part of your journey.
Oh, for
like
sure,
I'll mess around with and be like, yo, you need a water boy? Like, you know? Like,
you did say that. You did say
I was like, I'll be your water boy, dude. Like,
watch his next fight. You're going to be there. He's like,
I'll be the water. I'll have the bucket.
Holding the bucket.
That's right. Got a purpose.
Dude, we appreciate you. Manny?
Yeah, where just for viewership or for sound bites, like where can people find you? Like your Instagram, you know, social media, how can they get a hold of you?
Bryant the B Shell. You know, you'll find me right there on Instagram. That's really the only social media platform I use. So,
or if sponsors want to hit you up, same.
Yeah,
social
definitely
media.
hit me up. I'm open. Welcome
Sweet.
all of it.
Well, you guys make sure to go follow him. Make sure you go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you guys for the support. Thank you for always watching. Ben, Bryant, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And remember, guys, that everything was impossible until someone did it. So, guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/The Fight Within Podcast. Find us on all audio platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, anywhere you guys like to listen to it. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for continuing to listen to it and watch it. We can see the growth on our analytics and just want to thank you guys for supporting us.